Yes.
Unfortunately, I cannot minimize Zoom when I'm recording, so you will not get the okay. So I want to welcome everybody to our third session of Cozy Up to a Read. And we just really welcome our local folks to just share, whether it's a piece of work by someone else or if it's their own stuff. And Carol is quite the poet, and she actually started writing when she was 5 years old, which is amazing. She was born in Brattleboro in 1947, and she was raised on a sheep and chicken farm in West Brattleboro. And I mentioned that she started writing when she was 5 years old. She's taught creative writing, poetry, and drama full time in 2 Vermont high schools for 6 years. And she began raising her family in South Duxbury, Vermont, where she lives still. She and her husband, Fred, they built their home in 1972, and they've lived there for 48 years. 2 grown children have also settled in Vermont, and she was on the editorial board of the Mountain Troubadour, which is the magazine of the Poetry Society of Vermont, for 14 years. She's done many poetry readings in central Vermont schools, libraries, churches, restaurants. She's led a number of writing workshops for community groups and high school students. She's also published numerous poems in small poetry magazines and in self-published booklets. And she has published 3 fiber-related articles in Spin-Off. It's a spinning magazine published by Interweave Press in Boulder, Colorado. And she also writes memoirs and stories. And I want to say, Carol, you should join our Writers Event Fry. It's coming up this Saturday. So we meet the 3rd Saturday of the month and share. So you're certainly welcome to join us. But, and there's much more to Carol than that. And she also has graced the library's walls with her poetry and her art. And that's been wonderful as well. So without further ado, Carol, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you may begin.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Judy. It's my pleasure to be here. And I have to tell you a little bit about where we are. We're in my shop studio, and I am thankful that you can't see it. You can see what I am allowing you to see, but not what I'm not allowing you to see. It's a big mess. It has a lot of work that needs to be done here. But that's one of the wonderful things about this awful time is you don't know what I'm wearing below my waist. It's my work pants. And I don't have to worry that anybody will see my work pants. And, we don't have to wear masks when we Zoom together, which is a treat. As I started before, we don't have to dress up. And I don't have to show you what I don't want to show you. But I do want to show you the prayer flags. And I'm just going to tip the camera a little bit so you can see. Of course, you can't zoom in, excuse me. But the wife of my cousin made them for me as a thank you for some spinning lessons that I gave her. And she wanted me to put them outside, and she said, prayer flags should just kind of wear out by nature and just get old. But I put them out one night, it rained, they were on the ground. I said, they're coming into my shop. So they've been here, and they kind of, they're all about gardening, all about soil and sun and tools and animals to provide the manure. It's lovely. Anyway, I wanted to just say a couple things. First, I wanted to dedicate this reading to my mom. I'm going to hold this right up. She passed away in August at 105 and 7 months. And it's because of her that I haven't been part of your writing group we were just too busy. But in the future, I would love to be. I hope to be. Anyway, I'm going to read a couple of poems to honor my mom's memory. And then I'm going to read a couple of poems for my grandsons who are so good to be present. So I'm going to read a simple one that I wrote in 1985 to honor my mom. Mama made my cot. I will not forget hot summer nights, how I liked the tight, cool corners of clean sheets when Mama made my cot. It's a simple thing, but it's a memory that stuck with me. And, a lot of people have to, even when they're children, they may not have any bed at all. And they probably don't have clean sheets if they're struggling just to live. I wanted to read one more called Wise Cat. Sitting tall and proud. Oh, I wrote this in 1974, so it's pretty old. But she always sort of felt like a queen and wanted to be treated like a queen too. And we tried to treat her like a queen. Wise cat, sitting tall and proud upon your granite pedestal, there's an invisible crown upon your head. Only a few of us know that it's there. How right you are to be proud. I would be if I had done what you'd done. Sphinx-like, you sit like a queen, not needing to say a thing, guiding our ships out and out to sea again and again, and then safely in. We know you are our queen. So there's one more. Okay, it's here. I carried the books of poems from the living room to my shop studio, and I almost couldn't carry them. They were so heavy. And I said, oh, I've been writing too long, that I have so many poems that I can't carry them. So that's partly why I'm sharing them, because then I'm not just carrying them around. So this thing is what I call the flat magic box, just because otherwise, you might not know. Flat magic box in your hand. And I wrote this this year, 2020, and it was in reference to my mom. Flat magic box in your hand. Flat magic box in your hand. Flat magic box in your hand, trapping your mind, guiding your every move, every thought, every plan. I don't have a flat magic box in my hand. I don't think I want to be owned by one. Flat magic box in your hand? For the old who are too old to walk around, too old to go outside, too old to read books, too old to take a ride. TV's just too old hat. The flat magic box can take them for a magic carpet ride to their homeland, other countries, see old pictures from their childhood, see pictures of old friends and family. The flat magic box in their hands is grand. Okay, gotta have a place. Okay, so now I have, oh yeah, Yeah, I have, oh gee. I promised myself this wouldn't happen, but it has. Okay. Sorry. I was looking for the poems for my grandsons, but they'll turn up. Okay. This one is called, it might be right here. Oh, okay. I'm going to read Mirror Image. We stood there all together. The sun was rising. The children had their lunch pails. We were waiting for the bus. You stopped by in a hurry, but smiling, saying, "You look so good there, the whole family." I had yelled at the kids. I thought they might have missed the bus. I hadn't brushed my hair. My sweatshirt was ripped. I hadn't made my husband a lunch. You drove off. I looked at us through your eyes. I smiled too. Okay. So, be my brother. Be my brother when you come. Not a stranger from a darkened cell, not an old and broken, not an old and broken shell. I want to know again the greasy kid who made an engine hum, and the farmer boy who worked until the work was done. So this one is called John's Song. And John was a student of mine in 1969 when I taught at the high school at Bellows Free Academy in St. Albans. And he's a writer too. He ended up an administrator of a school. And he came back to read his poetry in my creative writing classes when I taught at Harwood. So it was pretty special that he continues to be a part of our lives so many years. John's Song. I wrote this while he was reading his poems to my students. Indian sparked. Your mind is like a kite's tail, flying with multicolor sails, lost and found at once. Still, you know you're going. You're taking the quiet path around on moccasin feet with feathers in your Boston made felt crown. A battered notebook round your neck strings you in to the rhythms around you. A spirit has seized you and it's in your veins and it makes us shake as you remake the pounding in your brain. I've got to find the, well, this is one I'd like to read. I'd like to tell you about this little book. And what I'll do from this little book is read a couple for the grandchildren who I see are there. This book I wrote in 1982. See, it's very thin. It's very small. I wrote it with students of the Duxbury Elementary School who were in second and third grade, or third and fourth. They were pretty young. And I was teaching them, well, we were writing together, but I was also teaching them how to make books. So I made this little book with them and showed, to show them. And then I stuffed it between some photographs in a dusty box of photographs in the corner of our living room, which have been needing to be put in albums since 1982. And I was looking for a photograph in the dusty box in the corner of the living room, and I found this. It was stuck in with photographs, and I pulled it out. It was totally a surprise. I mean, 1982 was a long, long, long time ago. And I looked it over and I thought, oh, that's neat, pretty cool. And then I passed it to my husband because um, I was busy looking for a photograph. So I didn't make much of it, but I gave it to my husband, who never says anything is better than okay. When I ask him how he's doing, he says, okay. And if I ask him how he liked the food, it's okay. But when I passed him this little book and I was busy doing something else, and later I ran by and picked it up, so I said, what did you think? He said, it's good. And I was so shocked. I was so shocked that he said it's good, that I said, oh, I have to look at it again. So I looked at it again and I said, it's pretty good. So I made, during COVID, I have made 10 or 12 of these to give away. And I've given them to people who needed them. Or in the case of our grandsons, they wanted them. They wanted one. So I made one for each of them. And I'm going to read them all. I'm going to read them all. They're very short. They're very little. I don't think that they'll punish my audience too much. It's called The Giving Book. The Giving Book. And in this time of COVID, I think that's our answer to get through it, is to give as much as we can, because it makes us feel good and it helps others. So I've told you the story of the book, so I can skip that. Bookmaking. Another nice thing is it's so little I can hold it and still be close to the microphone. Bookmaking. Whenever I make a book, the book makes me a little better at saying what I feel or see. Friend making. Whenever I meet a friend, the friend meets me, and we take each other through a wildly wonderful world of we. Letter writing. Whenever I write a letter is written to me. Maybe not by the one I wrote to, but from somewhere a letter comes to me. So, so Felix and Asher, this is for you, you know. I'm reading these poems for you. Present giving. Whenever I give a present is given to me. Not by the same one, maybe, but always more comes and comes and comes back to me. Smile giving. I smile to you, and 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 you. You smile to me. However many times you give a smile, it's always free. Trip taking. Whenever I take a trip, the trip takes me miles and miles of a wider world to see. Giving time. You give me yours, I give you mine. We do it again and again all the time. Is there any better kind of gift than time? So, actually, when I found these poems, I didn't think they were old-fashioned or out of date. They were they were current, I felt. And they work for me as well today as they did almost 40 years ago. So that's my test of a good poem. Anyway, so that's the little book. I'm gonna just take a little bit of water. There's actually something else pretty interesting in this shop that, if I'm careful, won't show you the big bags of wool. Our son Seth made let's see if I can do this. He made a mobile of cranes. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here. It's probably a little hard for me to capture because the light, I guess it's really hard. It's cranes. Oh, can you see them then? Anyway, they're paper cranes and they're hung from a branch that is projected out of a beam. And they stand for peace. And that's a good thing for us to think about this year. So, what I'd like to read next, if I can put my hand on it, it's Nadja's recital. It's here. This was something I wrote in 1992 when my daughter and I went together to Russia. It was a craft people's exchange. I taught spinning, and Eliza and I learned birch bark weaving, which is traditional in the part Karelia, the part of Russia we went to. And there were a lot of dark poems I wrote about that trip, and I'm not reading those tonight because we don't need any dark poems in this dark time. But what we do need is light and hope and achievement and success. And this poem has all of those things built into it. It's called Nadja's recital. Nadja is the name of the daughter of our host family, Marina and Sasha. And I guess it was the parents asked her to play for us, and she did. Now, Nadja's recital. At first, she began as many children have when asked to perform in front of guests at home. And we heard good music, as good, we thought, as we could expect from this 10-year-old girl. Then I noticed the turn of her head, a change in the music. She strengthened her stance and her jaw realigned, her teeth grit, her eyes cut like a diamond-edged saw blade through the hard part of the piece. Her violin screamed and sang and screamed and sang. Her smile showed everything. She knew she'd done it right. Anyway, I think it's quite typical of Russian children. They're under a lot of pressure and stress to perform and at a very high level. But it was really something to witness it and to see her take her music, her instrument so seriously. Anyway, I'll read one more because this is not dark. Sasha's hands. Sasha was the name of our host father, and he was really something. He could do just about anything. A tough, lean body, a blue wool sweater, blue jeans, and a brown corduroy jacket. He has a snap in his walk. He worked in the far north, his wife said. He knew the wealth of the woods, the birch bark for baskets and jewelry, the eel birch for fine wood products. Whenever I suggested a new project, I loved to see him jump up, turn on the light, scale the shelves of his long, tall, narrow tool closet. Every time he came back down with the right tool for the job at hand. Is there anything he can't do? Okay. So now, um, okay, here's one. I see we're creeping up close to 8. This is one of my favorite poems. It's called Werner Weathers Winter. And some of you good supporters of mine have heard this before, and I apologize. But if you haven't heard it before, you need it in your soul. Werner Weathers Winter. Werner was one of my closest friends. He was one of the actual singers in the singing family, the Von Trapp family that traveled the world. And it just happened that he was the father of one of my students. And they kind of took us in, and they were very down to earth people. One of my favorite memories was a day spent sorting wool with Werner in his garage. I've written a lot about him and his wife, Erica, but we spent a day, a long day, sorting wool from their sheep. And he gave me whatever I wanted of the wool as my payment for helping him. But he died maybe 8 years ago. He was born the same year as my mom. So they were the same age. And he was like, I mean, well, he and Erica were like parents to me and Fred, because my parents were away and working, and until we moved my parents nearby. So Werner Weathers Winter. You are a solid bear, unafraid of what people will say if you wear 2 hats. From you, I learned about 2 hat days. It helps my hat business. I warn tourists, buy another one for those frigid 2 hat days. Only you can go into your cold concrete cellar in winter to weave rugs from your Cheviot's wool. You come up the stairs puffing, wearing everything you own, grabbing an armful of wood from the nearest woodpile, from the neatest woodpile I've ever seen. It's a crime to dismantle it. And you stoke the stove. In your spinning corner, you spin enough yarn for the next rug. You bundle up, go down into your cave, and weave another one. You put a touch of red in just the right spots so we can weather the winter in our hearts. So, what I wanted to say, just a few words more, I now own the wheel that Werner was spinning on that inspired the poem. And there's a writer, his name, Bill Anderson, has just completed a book about the Von Trapp family, and it's coming out in January. And he asked me to write a small piece about the spinning connection of our 2 families. And I did. I wrote a piece. It'll be fun to see it. But that family has been a close, like family to us, which has been great. So I think it's 8:02. But if anybody has anything they want to say or request or suggest, I'll be open to it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Carol, I really enjoyed it. I love the way you read, and I love the images that came forth, um, and just kind of the vignettes. Yeah, it was just delightful.
Thank you.
People, you can unmute yourself and comment, please do.
Hi, Carol. This is Brenda Hartshorn. Thank you so much.
Hi.
I really enjoyed it. I loved the little book. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Carol, it was a privilege.
Hi.
It's good to see you.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
You've come a long way from Kentucky.
now. Yeah. We've both come a long way over these years
Right.
since grade school.